Hey guys, this is Jason Matthew from Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the BiochemJM channel. So we just finished semester 3 2011-2012, and I taught a metabolism course for this semester. So today I'm going to be looking at the students' errors in our final exam. So it's a year 2 biochemistry exam. As I said before, it's a metabolism course. So you're going to be looking at carbohydrate metabolism, lipid metabolism, nitrogen metabolism, as well as integration of metabolism. But for today, we're going to be looking at carbohydrate and a little bit of nitrogen metabolism and errors that students made in the exam. And although today we're going to be focusing on errors, I want to report that out of the 23 students that wrote the exam, 22 passed. So that gave us a 96% pass rate, which is very awesome. All right. And I just want to say for all the Bio 2363 students who are looking at this, congrats. You all worked hard and you deserve to pass this course. So excellent job, guys. All right, so let's dive straight into it. So the first error here is this reaction. Now, guys, this is glycolysis. You have been bombarded with glycolysis from O levels to A levels, and now at university, especially at year 2 biochemistry, we expect that you would know your glycolysis inside out. Now, for this reaction here, phosphofructokinase 1, it's a kinase enzyme, so you should know from your basic enzymology, kinase enzymes would add a phosphate group, and they would use ATP as the phosphate donor. So you having ADP being converted to ADP, that's wrong. Now, next thing to note is that PFK1 is in that first half of the set of reactions in glycolysis. It's in the energy investment phase, meaning that this is where two ATP molecules are used up. All right, this is not where you produce ATP. So you're wrong on many levels. Okay, so look at that. Okay, so this next one now, again, guys, glycerol kinase. Kinase, remember it's an enzyme, so it's going to be taking a phosphate group from ATP and added it onto the substrate, so you get glycerol 3-phosphate. Therefore, the ATP, you're losing one phosphate, so it goes from triphosphate to diphosphate. Therefore, this PI is wrong. All right? The phosphate that was released from the ATP is being attached to the substrate to form glycerol 3-phosphate. So therefore, it can't be here. So this is a common error that students make. And I hope now that you see this, you will make this error in the future. So remember, it's a kinase enzyme. It's taking the phosphate group from ATP and adding to the substrate. Therefore, it wouldn't be ADP plus PI. It would be simply ATP to ADP. And the phosphate would have been joined to the substrate to give you the product, which is in this case is glycerol 3-phosphate. So be very careful about that, guys. It's a common error. And again, glycolysis. You should know your glycolysis. And especially PFK1 is the most regulated enzyme in glycolysis. It is a reaction that you all should know. Therefore, you telling me that you're going to be it catalyzes the reaction between fructose 6-phosphate and fructose 2,6-bisphosphate. Come on, people. That's wrong. And now that I look at it, and so guys, you tell me, what is the reaction that PFK1 catalyzes? And she read us telling me the answer right away. It's fructose 6-phosphate being converted to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. And then this next thing here, energy yielded. Come on, guys. Again, this is part of the energy investment phase of glycolysis. Therefore, you'll not be yielding any energy. You'll not be forming ATP. You will be consuming ATP in this reaction. It's a phosphorylation reaction after all. All right, so in this question, I remember asking the students to give the reactions and showing that glycerol can be a a gluconeogenic precursor. In other words, it can enter gluconeogenesis. And you have to be very careful. This substrate is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. This component is an isomer of 3-phosphoglycerate. Ironically enough, you go back to your glycolysis. DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, is not an isomer of 3-phosphoglycerate. Alright? It's an isomer of what people tell me. Alright? So if you don't know, I'm not going to give you the answer. This is glycolysis. Guys, you should know this. Go and look at your glycolytic pathway and see the answer. What is the isomer of dihydroxyacetone phosphate? Alright, look for the reaction with that triose phosphate catalyzes. So let's look at the next one, guys. Well, let's translate this. It looks like it lacks PFK1. This means glucose, I guess they were saying glucose, cannot be converted to glucose 6-phosphate. PFK1 is the enzyme which is responsible for this, guys, glycolysis. Alright, how you could be making this mistake. Right? PFK1 does not catalyze this reaction. Alright, glucose going to glucose 6-phosphate is catalyzed by, that's right, the first enzyme in glycolysis, which is, I'm not going to tell you. So let's look at the next one. So PFK1 is the main regulating glycolysis. Is the main enzyme regulating glycolysis from the glucose precursor. It is also the last stage in the splitting level of glycolysis. Now that's wrong. And think about it. The product of PFK1 is fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. So let's look at the two carbohydrates involved here, glucose and fructose. How many carbons are there in glucose? That's correct. There are 6. How many carbons are there in fructose? There are also 6. So therefore, how can this be the last stage of the splitting level of glycolysis? Can't be, right? Because you still have 6 glucose and fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. The last stage of the splitting of glycolysis is the aldolase reaction, where you split the glucose, which is 6 carbon, to 2 3-carbon products. Alright? So just be careful about that, guys. Now, when you're giving equations, you have to be very careful about it. Alright, now this person gave the substrates, the products, they gave the enzyme, but they forgot a very key component. If this is a kinase enzyme, it needs a source of phosphate, and it's ATP going to ADP. Now, this here, when you're doing abbreviations, guys, you have to be very careful, right? Because G3P could mean glucose 3-phosphate for all I know. Alright, so you have to be very careful. Say it's glycerol 3-phosphate, And it's not, I think this is it's not glycerol, it's glycerol, just for the record. Similarly here, they need to be careful. You need to say, well, this here, you're going from glycerol 3-phosphate now to dihydroxyacetone phosphate. You need NAD plus going to NADH plus H plus. Alright, so I'm hoping you're learning, guys. I hope you're learning that, these are things that you have to be very careful for in the exam. Glycerol is converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. That's wrong, so you have to be careful. In biochemistry, a lot of these intermediates, they sound very similar, and you have to be very careful, you choose the right one. But, common sense should tell you that it's glycerol. So, and if it's, guys, common sense. Glycerol kinase. Only thing that glycerol kinase is going to be doing is adding a phosphate group to glycerol. Alright, so you might remember that it's glycerol 3-phosphate. But if you give me the exam glycerol phosphate, that's good enough for me, alright? But when you go with glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, but then you're stepping out there. Alright, it didn't do all of that. It just added a phosphate group to glycerol. So be careful about that. Again, it's a kinase enzyme, so therefore this phosphate group here is being added to glycerol. And again, this person also went with glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. bad choice. All right. Now, again, this process, people, I don't want to see any negative comments on for this video. This is not us pointing out um, that these guys, are horrible at this topic. What we are saying is that these are errors. A lot more people did make these errors, and we just want to learn from it. It's a learning process. Learn from the errors, people. All right. So let's see. Again, it's an exam, and under exam situations, some people they tend to to make little mistakes, and you can make some mistakes. So let's be very careful here. Now this person's talking about a limit dextrin. Alright, so this is also under carbohydrate metabolism when you are breaking down glycogen molecule. Now look at this. A limit dextrin is the 4 glycogen molecules. Now clearly that's wrong. It's the limit dextrin 4 glycogen. Now this word here, glycogen, now that's definitely wrong. That should have been 4 glucosyl residues, not even molecules, right? So you see, you have to be very careful with the wording in your exam. As well as, it's bifunctional. This will be the debranching enzyme is a bifunctional enzyme. And this is wrong. It's not a 1 to 4 transferase activity, it's a 4 to 4 transferase activity. And obviously they were toying around with what kind of glucosidase activity is, but they didn't get it. So they lost some marks there, people. Alright guys, so again, it's exam conditions. Maybe you took 2 or 3 drinks. Maybe you shouldn't have taken the third one. You should have just stuck with 2 drinks because you write things like this. Alright, now, if this is the limit dextrin, why is it that this is the branch here? Because you're transferring the branch onto the limit dextrin. And it's the limit dextrin effect. So, things to be careful about. You can't get any marks here because if the whole idea by debranching enzyme is to remove the limit dextrin, which you have on this end, I think, and you're transferring this piece to here. So be careful about that, guys. All right, so in this question, we were talking about what happens in fasting. Now, at the beginning of a fast, exogenous glucose from the diet would maintain blood glucose levels. At the beginning of a fast. Alright. Well, it's a little sketchy. If it's starting to fast, there's no exogenous glucose. But anyway, let's give her the benefit. And then she goes here and says, however, as blood glucose levels drops, the body employs gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis. And I put here which one is first. Alright? Because here's this thing. It's an exam, guys. And we have a very detailed mark scheme that we mark your papers with. And you have to be very careful with what you're saying. Your wording has to be precise. Like, for instance, yes, I agree. Gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis will be employed to maintain blood glucose levels during a fast. But there's a certain order to things. Like when you now start to fast, in the early stages of fasting, the glycogen reserves in the liver will be used to maintain the blood glucose levels. And as the glycogen levels start to be depleted in the liver, then you'll have gluconeogenesis taking center stage. But you have to be precise and say that, right? So glycogenolysis will start at first. So the glycogen reserves in the liver is going to maintain the blood glucose levels. And then as the glycogen reserves deplete, you're going to have gluconeogenesis being the main source of glucose in the body during the prolonged fasting. Alright? Now, I totally agree with this person. Glycogen phosphorylase cannot phosphorylate. But we disagree in the reason behind, in that I'm saying glycogen phosphorylase cannot phosphorylate because it's not a kinase enzyme. Alright? Only kinase enzyme will phosphorylate, which is phosphorylation, meaning adding a phosphate group. Glycogen phosphorylase or any other phosphorylase enzyme will not do that. So remember, I always tell people in metabolism, learn these 3 classes, or subclasses I should say. Learn what a kinase will do, learn what a phosphorylase will do, and learn what a phosphatase will do. Very important. Now in this question, Again, as I was saying before, I just want to stress the point some more. It's biochemistry. Yes, it can be a pain, and I know you're rolling up your eyes right now. God, why is he so mean? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to prepare you all for out there. You have to be specific in your biochemistry exam. So here, this person is saying at the beginning of a fast, glycogen stores are being used. Excellent. That's correct. The only problem here is that you're not being specific. Where? Because you know that there are two main stores of glycogen in the body. There's in the liver and there's in the muscle. But only the glycogen stores in the liver will be used to maintain blood glucose levels at the early stages of fasting. So you have to be, precise, people, precise. Now, this is under nitrogen metabolism, and I think the question went something to the effect that give the general reactions used to synthesize a typical amino acid. All right. So the question is asking for the biosynthesis of amino acids. Yet this person starts off with oxidation deamination. So I'm thinking, well, maybe she doesn't know what oxidation deamination means. But then she says it involves the removal of amino groups from an amino acid. So come on, guys. My question is asking you to give the reaction for the biosynthesis, meaning that you're going to make the amino acid. Yet, you all start up by saying that you're going to remove the amino group from the amino acid. In other words, you're breaking down the amino acid. Come on, guys. You all don't want the marks or what? Right. Now, I'll just go with my comment. If you read this over, you would realize it does not make sense. Let's see what I mean by that. The elevated argininosuccinate is a result of an enzyme deficiency in the urea cycle, where the enzyme argininosuccinate synthetase is deficient as it catalyzes the reaction of citrulline, converting it into argininosuccinate. Alright? So you are saying that they are elevated. Or maybe she didn't know what the meaning of the word elevated is, because elevated means increased, it's higher. So you have high levels of argininosuccinate, yet you say lower down that argininosuccinate synthetase is deficient. Right? Now if this enzyme, and let's break down the words, because sometimes we complain that biochemistry, they like to use a lot of technical terms, but this time the word says it all. Argininosuccinate synthetase. So if it's a synthetase, it's synthesizing what? Argininosuccinate. Yet you're telling me it's deficient, but there's elevated levels of it. Come on, guys, read your questions, read your answers, So this question here, the free ammonia then enters the citric acid cycle and is involved in the reaction where carbon dioxide, ammonia, and 2-ATP are combined via the enzyme carbamoyl phosphatase. So the person was, I'm sure they were thinking urea cycle in their heart, but their mind said citric acid cycle, they wrote citric acid cycle. I'm sorry, guys, you have to be very, very careful in the exam. Alright? Now, if you're writing an equation for biochemistry, we want a complete equation. And what happens to this ATP? You can't just stop at glutamine. What happens to the ATP? Alright, it goes to ADP plus PI. So you have to be very careful about these things. Alright, so the urea cycle is used to get rid of excess ammonia. Well, actually, ammonia, I can't stress this enough, ammonia is very, very toxic to the human body. So it's not ready to get rid of the excess, it's to get rid of all the ammonia in the body. Ammonia is neurotoxic, the body doesn't like it, we want to get rid of it. So it's not the excess ammonia, it's all of it. So just be very careful with the choice of words you use. And as usual, guys, LSC, baby. If you like this video and you like all the other videos, like them. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And give us your comments, give us your feedback. And as usual, guys, thank you for all the support you all give us. Without you all, this channel wouldn't go on. So thank you for the support, guys. And look out for more videos coming soon. Take care.